discussing the suspension of Godwin Emefiele is something, to be very frank, I really have not wanted to dwell on because, first of all, there are some judicial issues. There's a judicial procedure. He's in detention. There are allegations against him. So you don't want to, I don't want to comment on the exact allegations against him. But if you look at his performance as a governor of the central bank over the last several years, my view of his performance has been a matter of record. So it's not, I was saying it even when he was the governor, that I had what some might say the highest minimal regard for his performance, or indeed even his suitability for the role. And we have seen the consequence of not being careful in appointing people to such a sensitive role. You know, when politicians make decisions and they're just trying to achieve some self-interest for a particular time, but they're not weighing very carefully the consequence, the possible consequence on the economy of a whole nation, I think that there are lessons to be learned from what we have seen over the last several years. The performance of the bank on its core mandates, has not been very impressive. And you cannot substitute political mandates for the statutory mandates of the central bank. I'm not saying it has not done anything. Of course, it's tried to do its job, but I think it got sidetracked. And so, what we are seeing today is not a surprise at all.
All right.
Especially, I want to say, going to contest for the presidency while sitting on the governorship seat of the bank, I think that just crossed the line, and in any rational view, should have made him unfit to continue in that.
Hello and welcome to the channel. It be like say everybody just dey wait make them arrest this man since. Nobody don't talk good of him since the suspension and arrest. Or more, Emefiele really cost. Recall that President Bola Tinubu revealed more details on why he suspended Godwin Emefiele as the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. Tinubu, who opened up during that interactive session he had with Nigerians resident in France and neighboring European countries, said the country's financial system under Emefiele was rotten. He said the system allowed few people to make money illegally, while Nigerians in the diaspora were unable to send money home because of multiple exchange rates. President Tinubu, however, said such happenings have now become things of the past as the person responsible for such is in the hands of the law enforcement agents. He said, then the financial system was rotten, few people making bags of our money, and then you yourself, you stopped sending money home to our poor parents. Several windows, but that is gone now. The man is in the hands of the authorities. Something is being done about that. They will sort themselves out, he said. That's the news, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.
The inflationary impact is the biggest immediate threat and the biggest risk. Especially when you combine it with the removal of petrol subsidy. So inflation in Nigeria is going to just continue to shoot up in the immediate term. That is a fact. Now, this becomes a challenge because in order to attract capital, when you have a very steep rise in inflation, most times you need to keep interest rates high for a while. But Nigeria's economy is very funny, like Rufai said. It doesn't always follow the textbooks. Why is it that despite the fact that the central bank has been raising interest rates, inflation has kept going up? There are many reasons for that. One is that what is causing this current round of inflation is not the standard definition of inflation, of too much money chasing too few goods only. There is also a cost push factor, which is that the inputs into materials have become more and more expensive, partly because of the forex issues and partly for other reasons as well. So, so if you keep raising rates, and also, I forgot to mention, the central bank itself was contributing to inflation through the monetary phenomenon of illegal financing of the federal government's massive deficits to the tune of 23 trillion in ways and means lending. Of course, you're contributing to inflation with one hand, and you say you're fighting inflation with the other hand. Now, why was the ways and means lending so high? Because you have a government that could not manage its fiscal books. And there you now have the fiscal theory of the price level, being also relevant in addition to the quantity theory of money. It is a combination of these factors and how they play out in the market that causes inflation. If the federal government is far more responsible and disciplined with the budget and with spending, it will help the central bank to manage inflation. But if the federal government is just spending or borrowing like a drunken sailor, and then the central bank alone has to manage the inflationary consequences, it becomes very difficult. Where central bank independence broke down completely, as we saw, and the central bank simply became an errand boy of the presidency, essentially, we see the economic damage that has done to the country. That's why we talk about central bank independence, because it is necessary to checkmate what we call the time inconsistency problem. This is also one of the fundamental concepts of central banking. When we prioritize the now over tomorrow, and we make decisions today that may be convenient, but in the long term could actually hurt the economy.
Well, thank you.
Fighting inflation is going to be a serious challenge in the months ahead. Discussing the suspension of Godwin Emefiele is something, to be very frank, I really have not wanted to dwell on, because, first of all, there are some judicial issues. There's a judicial procedure. He's in detention. There are allegations against him. So I don't want to comment on the exact allegations against him. But if you look at his performance as a governor of the central bank over the last several years, my view of his performance has been a matter of record. So it's not, I was saying it even when he was the governor, that I had what some might say the highest minimal regard for him.